everybody. Thank you so much, Brains, for the awesome movie. That was a lot of fun. So up next, we are going to have a short campfire story time. If you see the screen I'm sharing, I've got a nice little campfire going. We have two stories that I'm going to be telling that are from members of our own Discord community. And following the stories, we are going to be showing several short horror movies. That should be a lot of fun. So, sit back, relax, and I am going to start with our first story, which was written by our very own Red Angel Rose. This is called Reception. Through his left eye's peripheral vision, Bryce Gavin notices one of the glass front doors to the reception hall swing open. A pudgy, clean-cut man, clothed in black business casual, black scarf tied around his neck, enters. He steals a seat at one of the tables close to the entrance. Bryce freezes in place. His mind immediately flashes to St. Patrick's Day of the previous year. It was warm on that starry night. The lingering scent of rain from the thunderstorm that just passed over remains. Bryce stands in front of a machine where the soft white glow of the ATM letters above cast his face in a pale phantom glow. One day, I'll have a lot of money. He grins, then the low rumble of thunder makes him flinch. Grin vanishes. His arms and legs are soon covered in goosebumps. He punches in his pin and yanks the cash from the slot underneath the keyboard. Clap! Bryce flinches, getting closer. Just then, out of nowhere it seemed, he felt the sudden nudge to his back. Bryce shakes the memory away. He slowly rises from his seat at the long table located at the back of the romantic, eloquently decorated ballroom. He taps the side of his crystal champagne flute with a fork. The guests shift their focus of attention from each other's boring conversations and dinner over to him. Bryce holds his flute high. The noise eventually fizzles out to a complete, dead silence. Bryce glances toward the mysterious latecomer. The stranger holds a champagne flute in his hand, ready to join in, and takes a drink. Their eyes lock. Focus. Bryce looks away, flashes a smile. Since I'm not excelled in the art of writing speeches or speaking in front of crowds, I still have one last job to do before the night is over. Bryce grins, then turns his sights to the ecstatic bride and groom who sit beside him, their flutes raised. All smiles. The newlyweds wait in deep anticipation for what Bryce has to say. There she sits, beside him. Concentrate. Congratulations, Matt and Carissa. May you both be happy, healthy, and wholly blessed throughout your life's journey together, and I love you, he says, as he holds his flute up, leading the others in the chant of, "Hear, hear!" That gulp was loud. Hope no one heard it. Bryce pours more champagne after he sits back down. He chugs. A few seconds pass before he catches himself doing it again. He turns away. A half-hearted smile plasters across his face for the crowd. He wipes the excess sweetness away from his mouth with the cuff of his right sleeve after he finishes that glassful. Don't worry about it. They'll clean the tucks. Mrs. Matthew Richard Hartsdale gazes up at Bryce. Their eyes meet. Her stare douses him with the calm demeanor he needed to make this toast perfect. He didn't doubt her for 1 second. Bryce could always count on Carissa. In the 2.5 years her and Matt had been together, she proved herself over and over to Matt's other friends what a good woman she was. it didn't take long for her to win their favor. Bryce's in particular, especially after that night last March. Carissa could literally burn a hole through my chest with those soft, angelic sapphires of hers. Stop it. He looks at the mystery guest. He's got nerve. His mind, once again, shoves him back to St. Patrick's Day. The muffled click and the smell of nicotine permeate through the air around. Give me the money. That deep, raspy voice speaks. Bryce raises his arms, bent at the elbows, the $60 secure in his right hand. At that moment, it felt as though Godzilla blanketed the city with an arctic chill from his breath instead of the hellfires of Armageddon, because Bryce's legs froze to ice. This is the last of my money. I don't get paid again for another week. The scumbag raises the gun, rests the end of the barrel directly on the back of Bryce's head. You want a hole in your skull, man? Back at the reception, Bryce turns his head to the right, away from the stranger. His eyes come into contact with Carissa again. Damn. The back of her head he sees this time. Carissa converses with her maid of honor and best friend, the natural, golden blonde Shelley Hanks. He makes sure to take mental note of Carissa's long auburn tresses that cascade over her shoulders and down her backside like a dark champagne waterfall over the sides of a mountain as she talks and laughs with Shelley. What'd I do to run my fingers through those gorgeous locks? Just then, Dana Brody, the wedding coordinator, takes center stage. It's time for the bride and groom's first dance, she cheers into her microphone. The crowd grows somewhat silent. The first few seconds of Love Is All Around by R.E.M. bleeds through the reception hall. No. Carissa tears up, wipes them from her eyes. Matt stands to his feet, takes Carissa's hand in his. No, no, no. He leads her to the dance floor as Bryce looks on. Her gorgeous, ivory off-the-shoulder ball gown sparkles under the dim lights as they move in place. Bryce cracks a smidgen smile, then shakes his head in silent disgust at the sight that transpires before him. This isn't fair, damn it. Bryce tilts his head back. Tears fall back into his dark green eyes. Matt brings Carissa into a close embrace. There, they sway as Matt whispers into his beloved's ear. She giggles and blushes. Her bony hand covers her face in embarrassment. The diamond on her left ring finger shines under the dim lights of the chandeliers above. Matt's hands pry over his wife's backside. He lightly rubs and squeezes as she nibbles at his neck. Carissa's rosy, gloss lip prints are left behind on his natural skin as she moves her lips around the neck and over the ears of her married lover. The scent of his cologne sends her pheromones into orbit as he places soft pecks on her shoulders, cheeks, and forehead as they dance on, tuning everyone out. Bryce makes a fist of his left hand, squeezes tight. He can feel the pinch of his nails press against the skin of his palm. Gavin's eyes wear him well. He's a loyal friend, but envy got the best of him long ago. Throughout his life, no one could honestly figure out why he always got upset when someone else had or received something he wanted. At 7, it was the Rubik's Cube. At 14, it was the Air Jordan athletic shoes that almost every other kid he knew had a pair of, even girls. At 22, it was the silver Ford Mustang convertible he couldn't afford that Matt received as a gift from his parents after his graduation from the University of Texas in Austin. Bryce flunked out of college. Gavin used to be timid, especially around women. He didn't know how to talk to them, so because of that and other insecurities that plagued him because of his lack of a romantic past, it was hard to retain the courage to ask anyone out. The ugly voices in his head convinced him of the humiliating consequences he would suffer because of rejection's brutal sting. It wasn't often, but when he finally worked up enough nerve to ask someone out with Matt's and Chris's encouragement, the women he asked wouldn't be interested. The voices were right. It wasn't fair. But that was a different time. Things have changed. Other guests join the bride and groom on the glossy wooden dance floor in the center of the ballroom. Bryce keeps his place at the table. He finishes his meal, downs a soda, as well as a whole small bottle of champagne he brought with him, in an attempt to mend his achy heart. So far, nothing was a success at burying his feelings, like a casket being lowered down into the dark abyss of a lonesome grave. The feeling of someone watching overtakes him. He looks over. The new guest dons a grin while he cuts a rug with Natalie Elroy, a friend of Chris's from college. Shakes his head, turns away. After Matt and Chris have finished their dance, Dana again speaks into her mic. "Okay, let's have the mother of the groom and the best man front and center," she says once Bryce's favorite love song finished its torturous melody. Recently widowed Charlene Hartsteele meets her one and only child center stage. The soft, bright glow of the huge chandelier above casts the mother of the groom's face in an angelic light as she proudly shares center stage with not only her son, but her son's best friend, and now her daughter. Bryce immediately stands to his feet. "Don't mind if I do, Dana. It's just us now." Carissa takes Bryce into a friendly embrace. He places his hands around her waist. She reaches her arms up, brings them to rest around his neck. His heart pumps a little faster as they sway to the old song he used to hear on the oldies station when his mother drove him to school back in the day. Jefferson Starships, Count on Me. Relax. Be cool. "You having fun?" Carissa asks as the music plays. Her smile soothes his heart and soul. "Your parents know how to throw a party," he replies. Carissa's eyes roll, giggles. "Oh yeah, my dad always said they were going to go all out for my wedding and reception." "I'd say they delivered," he grins. "You okay? You seem distant." She knows me well. "Kinda tired, been a busy few days," he says as he gazes across the room toward the stranger, still with Natalie. "I really appreciate everything you've done for us," she says. "I know, sweetheart." Eyes back on Carissa, he smiles. "I'm glad I can be here for you guys. You look beautiful." "Thanks. So, when are you gonna ask Shelley out? She confessed in the bridal suite before the ceremony she's wanted you to for a while." Bryce rolls his eyes. Here we go again. Lets out a playful smirk, laughs. "Matt mentioned that same thing. She's sweet, pretty, and smart, just not my type, Carissa," he explains. "Oh? And what is Bryce Gavin's type?" she asks. "If only you knew." He stops their sway, locks eyes with hers, doesn't once toss his gaze, much less think about it. Someone who's honest and tender, trustworthy, dependable, respectable, understanding, faithful, and loyal, among other things, he says as he runs a hand over her face as he starts to sway again. Carissa follows his lead. Bryce clears his throat, jerks his hand away. "How can you not see it? I look you dead in the eyes every time I talk to you." "Shelley's looking for those things too, Bryce. I know you guys don't know each other that well, but after one evening of spending time together, you'll pick up on it." "I don't want her." Carissa turns her head slowly towards Shelley, who's standing at a table, carrying on a conversation with Carissa's mother, Chelsea. She continues, Shelley's great. I've known her since 4th grade. She deserves a good man like you, Bryce. And you deserve a good woman like her. Especially after what happened with her ex.
Oh yeah, that guy who put her in the hospital a handful of times?
Carissa's lips melt into a half frown. Her eyes water. David, yeah.
Don't do that, Carissa. It's your wedding day. Smile and be happy. You're an awesome friend for caring about her love life so much, but don't worry. Shelley will meet her special guy one day. It's just not me, he says.
Like you'll meet your lady love? She adds with a sparkly grin.
Why are you so beautiful? I already have. Rolls off his tongue before he realizes that the second thought wasn't a private one.
Carissa stops in place. Her mouth drops a little. What? Is it someone we know? Bryce, who is it? Have you told Matt? Oh my gosh! She fishes for answers.
The proverbial cat grabbed his tongue and squeezed. He knew if he spoke, he wouldn't make sense. It'd be nothing but gibberish, but she wouldn't buy any of his lame excuses. Carissa knew what she heard. Get a grip. Don't blow it. Just then, the song ends. Matt approaches them. Saved by the end. Thank you. I was hoping you'd dance with my wife, Matt says as he pulls Carissa to his side in a tight embrace. He leans in to steal a kiss. Time for the garter toss, Dana says as she leads Matt and Carissa to the center of the ballroom as guests break away from their dance partners and return to their seats. Bryce flashes a grin at Matt, then chuckles as Dana places the chair in the center of the dance floor. He has no idea. Carissa sits. She catches the light shade of red that blankets her fair mask in a sheer moment of embarrassment as that beautiful smile races across. Her face beams with that glow of happiness that only exists on a young bride's wedding day. They talked about it several times. As Matt's hands disappear under the privacy of Carissa's gown, Bryce closes his eyes. Imagines for a moment or two what that would be like. He soon opens them, waking from a fantasy to see Carissa's eyes closed, taking in the moment. Okay, let's have all the bachelors over here. Take a place behind Carissa, Dana directs as Matt's hands reappear from under his wife's gown and twists the garter through his fingers. He weaves it through, ready to toss it to the crowd of single men who stand behind his Carissa, waiting to see which one will be up next for marital bliss. Bryce hangs back. He isn't seeing anyone, and doesn't ever plan on it. There's no way I'm going to stand back there. Matt notices him. No way in hell my best friend is getting out of the garter toss. Get over here, Matt teases as he waves him over. Bryce stands up and walks toward his two friends. His feet feel as though they've been tied to two heavy cinder blocks which weigh him down to the floor with each step he takes. His body temperature rises as sweat gathers in all pores. Bryce takes a place beside Carissa. After Matt turns his back to the group so he can throw the garter, Bryce gently drapes his open left hand on her bare right shoulder, lightly squeezes. She turns her head up in his direction, and their eyes lock again. Damn, her skin is so soft. I wonder who this woman is he's met. I bet Matt knows, just hasn't told me. Sneaky brats, Carissa thinks. Bryce's body trembles. His chest tightens. Carissa lifts her right hand and grips it in his. She can feel the beat of his pulse as it speeds through his body. The race his circulation runs is nothing for the wearer. Carissa flashes a sweet grin. His whole body is lost in complete relaxation. The tension melts away at the sight of her. Bryce glances behind. The stranger's still there. He sips on another flute of the bubbly as he smiles at Bryce. A bite of cake makes its way into the mouth of this unusual stranger who seems to be enjoying himself. He chews and swallows, then washes it down with another sip, All the while, the gold band on his left ring finger shines under the light of the chandelier. It won't be long now. Bryce glances down to his left side. Dana counts to 3 and spats off a phony drum roll for dramatic effect. Matt tosses the garter backward toward the line of available men still on the hunt for their future bride. Men aren't eager to catch the garter like women are when it comes to catching the bouquet, so no hands seem to really care to catch for it, but some effort is put into it by a few of the others before Bryce reaches up with his left hand and catches it, just before it has the chance to land in Carissa's lap. A crooked smile appears across the crevice of Bryce Gavin's face. He hasn't sincerely smiled tonight until this moment. This means something. He's now convinced this has to be a sign from the all-knowing universe that he's to do what he needs to do for his turn at happiness with such a gorgeous, loving, devoted companion like Matt now has. Carissa stands. "Yes!" she exclaims, nods her head to the right, smiles so big it makes the sun shine. Bryce's eyes follow. He spies Shelley standing there at the table, with Carissa's fresh-cut bouquet of lilies she caught earlier firm and secure in her hand. She smiles, waves at Bryce. He grins, returns the gesture. "This has to be fate," Carissa says. Bryce cracks a toothy smile, then glares at Carissa. "Fate indeed, sweetheart." Outside the reception hall, guests line up on 2 opposite sides of a long red velvet carpet that Dana laid out over the ground a bit ago. Bubble bottles in place, everyone stands in patient wait to send the bride and groom off. Matt's dark blue Camaro waits at the end of the red carpet. Decorated with white shoe polish, words such as "just married," "another one bites the dust," and "yeah, baby," scrolled across the back window and windshield. The car sits in wait like Cinderella's carriage that took her to the ball. Bryce notices both of the side mirrors have been polished over as well. He sneaks around to the driver's side, looks up. He watches as the 3 groomsmen stand at the start of the line, ready to hold the doors open for the bride and groom as he wipes away the shoe polish with the sleeve of his tux. Idiots. Glad it didn't dry. Bryce then takes his place at the end of the line, just a hop away from the car. The groomsmen open the doors and hold them open. Dana exits the reception hall, microphone in hand. Everyone claps as Matt and Carissa make their way outside after Dana. Bryce opens the passenger side door, sinks a peek inside, keys in the ignition, ready to go. "All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the count of 3, Matt and Carissa will run through as you blow the bubbles. You guys ready?" Dana asks the groomsmen. Their heads nod in unison. "Bryce Gavin, ready?" she asks. "I've been ready," he says. "This is it." The elder Mrs. Hartsdale blows him a kiss and flashes a motherly grin as she waves at her son's best friend since middle school. Because Bryce's own mother was nothing more than a stranger who lived in the same house, he had taken an immediate liking to Mrs. Hartsdale back then. Saw her as the mother he never had but always wanted. Bryce waves back, then glances over. The mystery guest stands off to the side, away from the crowd. The guy grins as he places his sunglasses over his eyes. St. Patrick's Day, once again. After the storm moved toward the east, over by McKinney now. Another one on the way. Bryce opens his hand. The money floats to the ground. The stranger bends down, scoops the 3 $20 bills into his hands, then strolls past Bryce. Comes to a stop. Turns to face him. Lifts his gun. "I haven't told Carissa how I feel," Bryce says as he holds his arms up, bent at the elbows. The orange glow from the gun barrel. "I'm dead." Bryce jumps as the sound of the bullet crashes against the pavement off to the right of him, then rolls away. "For dramatic effect. Have a good night," the mugger says, before he runs and disappears into the shadows of the alleyway. Here we go! 1, 2, 3, Dana shouts into the microphone. Bryce clears that memory out of his head. Matt grips Chris's hand in his as they run toward the car. Hundreds of stray bubbles surround them, and the path ahead as they make tracks for the Camaro. Some pop in their faces, others burst as they hit the ground. A few more are carried off into the sky before they burst in the flash of an eye without any warning. Once Matt gets Chris a seat inside the car, Bryce shuts the passenger side door. He races ahead of Matt, around to the driver's side, then gets in. He slams the door closed. Carissa lowers the passenger side window as Bryce starts the engine. "He's kidnapped the bride! See you at the hotel, baby!" Carissa yells to Matt, while the tune Leather and Lace by Stevie Nicks and Don Henley blaze through the expensive car speakers as they drive away. Tickled, Matt laughs. Such a sneaky rat, he grins as he waves. Charlene approaches from behind, places a hand on her son's shoulder. "They planned that a few weeks ago," she says. "Take my car to the hotel, sweet son. Tonight is on Bryce," she says. "Really?" "He wanted to do something nice for you guys," she explains as she hands him a white envelope. Matt pulls a note out, along with a blank, signed check. The note reads, "Matt, here's hoping you have a fantastic wedding night. Just fill out the check. Congratulations again. All my love and well wishes, Bryce." He's a good friend. "You have a ride home?" he asks. "Chelsea and Tom are going to drop me off. Now go on. Enjoy the rest of your night as a married man," she says, as she places a soft kiss on his cheek. "I am very blessed," Matt says, as he takes her in a kind embrace. "Thank you again for everything, Mom. Carissa and I appreciate it." Later at his apartment, Bryce cleans up, throws on a t-shirt and jeans. Afterward, he packs a couple suitcases and picks up a brown manila envelope off the computer hutch inside his office. He walks into the living room and flips on the TV with a remote. The Buck Rogers and the 25th Century theme begins like all the other nights at this time on TV land and whistles along. Bryce removes the money inside the envelope, counts it before he puts it back in. He tosses the envelope at the top of the coffee table. The windows are double-checked to make sure they're locked and secure. He's not sure when he'll be back here, if he decides to return at all. Once he arrives in Denver, he'll just have to have a cleaning crew come by every 2 weeks and make arrangements with the postmaster until the lease is up. Haunting nightmares. Chilling flashbacks. Bryce startles at the sudden knock on the door. Hesitant, he stands in place. His emerald eyes remain glued to the door as his visitor raps again. More aggressive this time. It's the knock that reminds him of when he got mugged and shot at, just after he got home to the same downtown apartment up the street from the old courthouse on the square a little past midnight that stormy evening. He locks the door. His shaky, sweaty hand pulls the phone from his pocket as his breath races out of control. Hits send on Matt's number. The dread greeting. Guess he's still in Houston on that business trip. He disconnects the call, then scrolls through his contacts, comes across Carissa's name, hits send. She immediately came to his aid, gave him a ride to the police station, then to the hospital to make sure he wasn't wounded before she got Matt on the phone, who jumped on the first red-eye out of Bush Intercontinental he could get on. He remembered telling her it wasn't necessary, but she insisted. Surprised that she cared so much, Bryce didn't fight her. A lifesaver. After a final, louder knock, Bryce opens the door to the mystery guest from the reception. The same guy he met at the ATM machine a year ago. Bryce smiles when he sees the tattooed Roman letters Justin spelled out across the man's throat. Justin lets himself inside. Black suit, sunglasses, cap, and a long black coat neat in place. He stops, then turns around to face Bryce.
"It is finished," Justin mutters as Bryce glares at him. The rot of his breath sickens Bryce to the point of almost gagging, but he's somehow able to hold it in. "Need proof, Mr. G?" "Not necessary."
Justin holds his hand out like a teenager would a parent so he can go to the mall and blow money on greasy junk food or spend it all at one place inside a crappy dollar movie theater. Mr. G bends down, picks up the envelope, straightens to his feet, and lays it across Justin's gloved hand. He slips it in one of the inside pockets of his coat, buttons up.
"You can count it if you want, but it's there, I promise." "None necessary," Justin says with a grin, flashing his vampire fangs, covered in yellow tooth decay. "Well done," Mr. G says, then adds, "Might I suggest using some of that money for getting your teeth cleaned? I know a good dentist."
Justin smirks.
"It's been a pleasure doing business with you, Mr. G. Hold out your hand."
Bryce does so. Justin then places a shiny, polished circle of white gold into the open palm. Victory. Mr. G reflects for a few minutes back to the day at the police station he eyed this pudgy piece of garbage in the lineup, told the cops the man who stole his money at gunpoint and shot at him wasn't there.
"Likewise, Mr. Bryant," Mr. G says with a grin as he constricts his hand closed around the ring and slowly lifts his gaze ahead, cracks a smile.
As Justin turns to make his way out the door, Mr. G opens one of his suitcases. He removes something out of it, wrapped in a pillowcase, approaches Justin, raises his hand to deliver the blow. Justin turns around, tackles Mr. G to the floor, grips his wrist, which causes the object to slip out of his hand. Justin reaches into the pocket of his coat. Mr. G punches him in the face. Justin falls backward but rises to his feet, as does Mr. G. With a bloody nose, Justin lunges at him, but his boss shifts his body out of the way, while Justin crashes to the floor after he flies across the top of the coffee table. "I hope my last $60 is worth this," Mr. G says. Justin held his shaky hands up. "Listen, my kid wanted a video game to open at his birthday party. I didn't have the money and had to get it for him." Mr. G snickers. Only fools raise idiots who grow up thinking they're privileged, when in fact, they're nothing more than spoiled, whiny brats, Mr. G says as he walks toward Justin, taking slow steps. Justin immediately sits up. Bryce Gavin reacts, lifts a cushion of the sofa up, brings a pistol with a silencer on the end from underneath, aims it at Justin, the end of the silencer aimed directly between his darkened eyes. Justin pulls his arms up. "Wait a second, Mr. G." "For dramatic effect," Bryce says, then pulls the trigger. Justin falls back. Mr. G stands there for a few minutes, staring as blood drips from the bullet hole, then downward over Justin Bryant's face before it leaks onto the hardwood floor. Mr. G smiles and walks to the coat closet, pulls out his new suit, changes clothes, then removes his Air Force aviator sunglasses from one of the hunter green suit jacket's inside pockets, pushes them up the bridge of his nose and places over his eyes. Won't be too much longer. He squats down beside Justin's corpse and digs through the coat pockets, pulls the manila envelope from inside, throws it on the coffee table. Just then, his phone rings. He's Dan's. Joy paints the perfect picture of love across his face by way of a grin that stretches from ear to ear. "Hello, sweetheart." Her frantic cries melt his smile into a half-frown. "What's wrong?" he asks. His eyes widen in surprise. "What do you mean Matt hasn't shown up at the hotel? Did you call him?" A short pause. "Sweetheart, it's okay. Matt isn't with me. We didn't plan any wedding day pranks, I promise." He grins. "I see." Another short pause. "Give it 30 more minutes. Call me back if he doesn't show up, but don't worry. Everything will be all right. He hangs up, dials another number. Hello, James. In 30 minutes, come to my place. There will be a key under the mat. Take the manila envelope on the coffee table after you finish cleaning up. I'll wire you more after I get to Colorado. He hangs up, spots a bottle of white wine on the bar to his right. Mr. G glides over, grabs it, then makes his way to the sofa and takes a seat. Opens the bottle, then sips. He crosses his legs with the ankle on top of the coffee table, leans back, and smiles. Swallows the proud satisfaction of what it is he's won. The images in his mind swirl into a churning whirlpool of such deep, dark fantasies as he thinks about all the many ways a corpse can disappear from the face of the earth without a single trace. His phone rings again. Carissa calling. Finally, he mumbles with a grin. The end. That was Reception by our very own Red Angel Rose. Now up next, I'm going to be telling a true experience from our very own Cassandra Entendre, who I believe is here with us in chat right now. A few years ago, I was winding down at night when an old friend reached out to me on Facebook Messenger to tell me that he had been admitted to the hospital for complications with a medication that had slowed down his heart significantly. I expressed concern and asked a few questions, and he assured me that he was generally all right, mostly bored and craving a burger. Once I realized he wasn't joking, but rather not so subtly hinting, and even specified In-N-Out as the best late-night option, I offered to pick one up for him and pay him a visit. I think it's important to mention that while acts of service are certainly one of my love languages, if you will, I love bed. So it is rare that I get out of bed mode unless absolutely necessary, and delivering a burger to someone who I care for, but who isn't really in my innermost circle at midnight no less, is highly unusual in itself. And yet I happily and willingly got dressed and set out for what I assumed would be a quick jaunt, a good deed, and probably a few yummy night fries. I don't live far from the In-N-Out, probably less than 2 miles, and the hospital is just a few miles away as well, off a main street in downtown. I ordered the food, and despite being fairly certain I knew the fastest route, I pulled up the hospital address in the GPS and proceeded on my way. Also important to note, I have lived in my city for 11 years at this point, am more than familiar with commuting in this area, and I am a proficient navigator. I mostly use GPS in town to test my knowledge of the quickest routes, get traffic updates, and play the Beat the GPS ETA game. It's the little things that bring me joy. Here is where it gets bizarre, and also where the details get hazy. I drive. And I drive some more, and I continue to drive. I recall very little more than a blissful night drive, just me and the road, no traffic at all as I made my way up into the winding, tree-covered hills, with only one fleeting intermittent amused thought of, well, this is an inconvenient location for an emergency room. The ambulances would have to go through all these narrow curves, I'm sure. And I drove on, smiling, enjoying the unexpected luxury of breathing in the fragrance of redwood trees. I followed the GPS voice's guidance from one small secluded street after another until I heard, "You have arrived." At this point, I stopped to take in my surroundings, grateful to no longer be navigating the ever-winding roads in nearly pitch darkness. I looked to my left and saw only a large home that was by no means a hospital. The street was a dead-end cul-de-sac, and it was so very dark. I sat in my car in a dazed state of confusion for a moment. It was like waking up from a nap after the sunset, a bit disorienting, though physically relaxed. And then, rather suddenly, every cell of my body was alert. and I realized the absurdity of this situation. I was in the middle of nowhere, nearly an hour later, and had no idea when I veered off so off path, and more importantly, how I didn't realize sooner. I mean, I could not believe I had so blindly followed bad directions. Most strange in retrospect is how easy breezy I handled the whole thing, never once getting irritated, frustrated, scared, but rather joyfully accepting the oddness of it all. Not exactly in character for this Virgo. I looked at my phone again and verified that I had typed the hospital correctly. No typos. But I did my best rationalization was perhaps a doctor's personal address had been listed by mistake. I had no rational explanation for my failure to notice that I was miles away from the city's center. I had a hearty laugh at my own expense, took a screenshot, texted a friend, and located the correct address and proceeded to drive back into civilization. As I reached the hospital driveway entrance, I noticed several flashing lights. I assumed it was an ambulance pulling into the ER, but as I got closer, I saw police and paramedics in the street. Closer still, I saw debris spread out across several lanes, and what looked to be at least 3 totaled vehicles. As I waited to see if I would be directed away or allowed to enter the driveway, I got close enough to see blood on the street, and I asked a paramedic what happened. He told me that just an hour ago or so, a very gnarly accident had occurred wherein multiple people were critically injured. I wondered aloud whether or not they had been rushing to get to the hospital when it happened and said a little prayer for the folks involved. He allowed me to pass over the mostly cleared pavement to the entrance, and as I did, I was suddenly covered in goosebumps and flooded with gratitude for having narrowly missed being involved in that catastrophe. I still have no idea what exactly happened that night. I know my friend got a cold burger, I got a good story, and perhaps a second chance at life. The end. And Cassandra is here, so if anybody has any questions about her experience, feel free to ask them in chat, because I'm sure she would be happy. She even says here, yes, I would be happy to answer any follow-up questions, so feel free to ask away.
I have got the anthology of scary stories to tell in the dark, the source material for the movie later, obviously. These stories used to scare the crap out of me when I was a kid, and I was shocked and amazed that they even put them in middle school libraries. Mostly the drawings. The drawings were the scariest part, for me anyway. But I have a story here. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. This story is from Scary Stories 3, the third book in the series. It's called Such Things Happen. When Bill Nelson's cow stopped giving milk, he called the veterinarian. There's nothing wrong with that cow, the vet said. She's just stubborn. That, or some witch got hold of her. Bill and the vet both laughed. That old hag, Addie Fitch. I guess she's the closest we've got to a witch around here, the vet said. But witches have gone out of style, haven't they? Bill had had a run-in with Addie Fitch the month before. He had hit her cat with his car and killed it. I'm really sorry, Addie Fitch, he told her. I'll get you a new cat. Just as pretty, just as good. Her eyes filled with hate. I raised that cat from a kitten, she hissed. I loved her. You'll be sorry for this, Bill Nelson. Bill sent her a new cat and heard nothing more. Then his cow stopped giving milk. Next, his old truck broke down. After that, his wife fell and broke her arm. We're having a lot of bad luck, he thought. Then he thought, Maybe it is Addie Fitch getting even. And then, hey, don't believe in witches. They're just upset. But Bill's grandpa believed in witches. He had once told Bill that there was only one sure way to stop a witch from causing trouble. You find a black walnut tree, he said, and you draw her picture on it. Then you mark an X where her heart is, and you drive a nail into the X. Every day you drive it in a little deeper. If she's causing the trouble, he said, she'll feel the pain. When she can't stand it anymore, she'll come to you, or send somebody and try to borrow something. If you give her what she wants, that breaks the power of the nail, and she'll go on tormenting you. But if you don't, she'll have to stop, or the pain will kill her. That's what his nice, gentle old grandpa believed. It's pure craziness, Bill thought. Of course, his grandpa didn't have much schooling. Bill had been to college. He knew better. Then Bill's dog Joe, a perfectly healthy dog, dropped dead, just like that. It made Bill angry. Despite all his schooling, he thought, maybe it is Addie Fitch after all. He got a red crayon from his son's ring and a hammer and a nail and went into the woods. He found a black walnut tree and drew a picture of Addie Fitch on it. He made an X where her heart was, like his grandpa had said to do. With the hammer, he drove the nail a little way into the X. Then he went home. I feel like a fool, he told his wife. You should, she said. The next day, a boy named Timmy Logan came by. Addie Fitch isn't feeling well, he said. She wonders if she could borrow some sugar from you. Bill Nelson stared at Timmy in amazement. He took a deep breath. Tell her I'm sorry, but I don't have any sugar right now, he said. When Timmy Logan left, Bill went back to the walnut tree and drove the nail in another inch. The next day, the boy came back. Addie Fitch is pretty sick, he said. She's wondering if you got any sugar yet. Tell her I'm sorry, Bill Nelson said, but I still don't have any. Bill went out into the woods and drove the nail in another inch. The following day, the boy was back. Addie Fitch is getting sicker, he said. She really needs some sugar. Tell her I still don't have any, Bill answered. Bill's wife was angry. You've got to stop this, she said. If this mumbo-jumbo works, it's like murder. I'll stop when she does, he said. Toward dusk, he stood in the yard staring at the ridge where the old lady lived, wondering what was going on up there. Then, in the half-darkness, he saw Addie Fitch coming slowly down the hill toward him. With her pinched, bony face and her old black coat, she did look like a witch. As she got closer, Bill saw that she could barely walk. Maybe I'm really hurting her, he thought. He ran to get his hammer to pull the nail out. But before he could leave, Addie Fitch was in the yard, her face twisted with rage. First you killed my cat, she said. Then you wouldn't give me a bit of sugar when I needed it. She swore at him and fell dead at his feet. I'm not surprised that she dropped dead that way, the doctor said later. She was very old, maybe 90. It was her heart, of course. Some people thought she was a witch, Bill said. I've heard that, the doctor said. Somebody I know thought Addie Fitch had witched him, Bill went on. He drew a picture of her on a tree, then drove a nail in it to make her stop. That's an old superstition, the doctor said. But people like us don't believe in that sort of thing, do we? And that's the end of that one. These, the ones I'm reading are all coming from the Scary Stories anthology. I thought that would be fun to do. This is from the first book, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This story is called old as clay. A farmer had a daughter for whom he cared more than anything on earth. She fell in love with a farmhand named Jim, but the farmer did not think Jim was good enough for his daughter. To keep them apart, he sent her to live with her uncle on the other side of the county. Soon after she left, Jim got sick and he wasted away and died. Everyone said he died of a broken heart. The farmer felt so guilty about Jim's death, could not tell his daughter what had happened. She continued to think about Jim and the life they might have had together. One night, many weeks later, there was a knock on her uncle's door. When the girl opened the door, Jim was standing there. "Your father asked me to get you," he said. "I came on his best horse." "Is there anything wrong?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. She packed a few things and they left. She rode behind him, clinging to his waist. Soon he complained of a headache. "It aches something terrible," he told her. She put her hand on his forehead. "Why, you're as cold as clay," she said. "I hope you're not ill." And she wrapped her handkerchief around his head. They traveled so swiftly that in a few hours they had reached the farm. The girl quickly dismounted and knocked on the door. Her father was startled to see her. "Didn't you send for me?" she asked. "No, I didn't," he said. She turned to Jim, but he was gone, and so was the horse. They went to the stable to look for them. The horse was there. It was covered with sweat and trembling with fear. But there was no sign of Jim. Terrified, her father told her the truth about Jim's death. Then quickly he went to see Jim's parents. They decided to open his grave. The corpse was in its coffin, but around its head they found the girl's handkerchief. And that's the end on that one. This last story I have is called Harold. It's also from the Scary Stories anthology. This is from Scary Stories 3. When it got hot in the valley, Thomas and Alfred drove their cows up to a cool green pasture in the mountains to graze. Usually they stayed there with the cows for 2 months. Then they brought them down to the valley again. The work was easy enough, but it was boring. All day the 2 men tended their cows. At night, they went back to the tiny hut where they lived. They ate supper and worked in the garden and went to sleep. It was always the same. Then Thomas had an idea that changed everything. "Let's make a doll the size of a man," he said. "It would be fun to make, and we could put it in the garden to scare away the birds." "It should look like Harold," Alfred said. Harold was a farmer they both hated. They made the doll out of old sacks stuffed with straw. They gave it a pointy nose like Harold's, and tiny eyes like his. Then they added dark hair and a twisted frown. Of course, they also gave it Harold's name. Each morning, on their way to the pasture, our page got stuck. They tied Harold to a pole in the garden to scare away the birds. Each night, they brought him inside so that he wouldn't get ruined if it rained. When they were feeling playful, they would talk to him. One of them might say, "How are the vegetables growing today, Harold?" Then the other, making believe he was Harold, would answer in a crazy voice, "Very slowly." They would both laugh, but not Harold. Whenever something went wrong, they took it out on Harold. They would curse at him, even kick him or punch him. Sometimes one of them would take the food they were eating, which they were both sick of, and smear it on the doll's face. "How do you like that stew, Harold?" "Well, you'd better eat it, or else." Then the 2 men would howl with laughter. One night, after Thomas had wiped Harold's face with food, Harold grunted. "Did you hear that?" Alfred asked. "It was Harold," Thomas said. "I was watching him when it happened." "I can't believe it." "How could he grunt?" Alfred asked. "He's just a sack of straw. It's not possible." Let's throw him in the fire, said Thomas, and that'll be that. Let's not do anything stupid, said Alfred. We don't know what's going on. When we move the cows down, we'll leave them behind. For now, let's just keep an eye on him. So they left Harold sitting in a corner of the hut. They didn't talk to him or kick him outside anymore. Now and then the doll grunted, but that was all. After a few days, they decided there was nothing to be afraid of. Maybe a mouse or some insects had gotten inside Harold and were making those sounds. So Thomas and Alfred went back to their old ways. Each morning they put Harold out in the garden, and each night they brought him back into the hut. When they felt playful, they joked with him. When they felt mean, they treated him as badly as ever. Then one night, Alfred noticed something that frightened him. Harold is growing, he said. I was thinking the same thing, Thomas said. Maybe it's just our imagination, Alfred replied. We've been up here on this mountain too long. The next morning, while they were eating, Harold stood up and walked out of the hut. He climbed up on the roof and trotted back and forth like a horse on its hind legs. All day and all night long he trotted like that. In the morning, Harold climbed down and stood in a far corner of the pasture. The men had no idea what he would do next. They were afraid. They decided to take the cows down into the valley that same day. When they left, Harold was nowhere in sight. They felt as if they had escaped a great danger. They began joking and singing. But when they had gone only a mile or two, they realized they'd forgotten to bring the milking stools. Neither one wanted to go back for them, but the stools would cost a lot to replace. Really is nothing to be afraid of, they told one another. After all, what could a doll do? They drew straws to see which one would go back. It was Thomas. I'll catch up with you, he said, and Alfred walked on toward the valley. When Alfred came to a rise in the path, he looked back for Thomas. He did not see him anywhere, but he did see Harold. The doll was on the roof of the hut again. As Alfred watched, Harold kneeled and stretched out a bloody skin to dry in the sun. The end.